Well, I'm lying in bed just like Russell Wilson did. Yes, I'm lying in bed just like Russell Wilson did. Hey, stop laughing and making fun of me. I'm just trying to get subs. You know, we're an entertainment channel, right? I'm trying to entertain.
Yeah, we're the negative channel. Remember that.
Well, I want to talk about our channel. This is Denver Broncos Mile High View. No commercials, never any bullshit. Because subs are so bloody fucking important. When I brought you on board, I told you that I said be ready because I said this is not going to be a popular channel, and I'm not out to get subscriptions. As a matter of fact, you never hear me say subscribe on this channel. This isn't a show. Excuse me. This is not a show. What this is a chronicle. And before we get into this, I want people that come here to understand what we bring to the table without our subs. Okay, subless. You basement dwelling, anti-Bronco conspiracy, fake news, left wing QAnon, Putin support. Yeah, did I leave anything out?
You forgot Chicken Little and Old Man.
Oh, Chicken Little Old Man. So what we have here is a chronicle, and before I get going, I want the people that are new to understand where we have batted 1,000, and our detractors who said we were wrong each and every time, and we'll show you, went down in flames. We'll start with Case Keenum. When Case Keenum, they want to get Case Keenum, I said, you don't have the coaching, you don't have the system for Case Keenum, you don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about. I said, this isn't going to work. Bill Musgrave has nothing to do with the Kubiak system. You don't know what you're talking about. Sure enough, that was a pocket quarterback system, more like Brady ball, less the West Coast system. Didn't work out. Then you guys wanted to get Jawan James. You guys wanted to get Flacco and you Drew Lock. And I said, okay, number one, the line can't support Flacco. There's no reason to bring Flacco in. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay, he didn't last a whole year. Then the next thing that happened was Jawan James. Oh God, Jawan, yeah, and you guys just cheerled that. Why are you bringing in Jawan James? You don't want this guy. This guy is trouble. Oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, we all saw how that went. Then there was Drew Lock. I said, you are lying. I'm saying, the Dove Valley, you are a liar. All you sports talkers, you're all a liar. You're not going to give this guy. This is not going to be a development project for Drew Lock. Oh no. This is a 3-year project. I said, no, you're lying. You're going to throw him under the bus because he's not going to pan out the very first year. He actually gets to play. Of course, that's what happened. Then you said, oh, that was all Fangio. I said, no, that was John Elway. Oh, he doesn't exist. He doesn't exist. And then what do we see? He hides himself behind onion layers every time. He hires George Payton, and yet he signs Surtain. I know I'm not even going to get into our draft picks, free agents who all went and did great where they went, and how our Jarrell Casey's and all this nonsense you guys wanted, how that all went down the tubes. That's a whole nother subject. Okay, and then it turns out on draft night you have Sports Talk Radio and everybody else. Well, first of all, Brady. What about Brady? Brady was going to come here. We said, no, Brady is not coming here. You're out of your mind. Of course he didn't come here. Then it was, then on the draft night was Aaron Rodgers. And this man right here specifically said, you're completely out of your mind. This guy isn't going to come here. We got that right. Imagine that. These basement dwelling, anti-Bron, whatever this fantasy you have in your head. Bottom line is, and okay, you say, well, we got Russell Wilson. You didn't say, well, nobody said Russell Wilson was coming here. Iverson on his show, he was completely blindsided by that, like all of us were. And that was, and I did a Russell Wilson film, and this is going to be a Russell Wilson video we're doing. Whether or not Russell Wilson, this was the right thing to do. And we're going to talk about, there's two ways to look at it. That looks the short term and the long term, but just in a minute.
Don't forget about Stafford. You remember he was a shoe.
I was good to that. Yeah. And you all said Matthew Stafford wanted to come here, and I don't know where you guys listen to stuff. Okay, you listen to all the subs, the people with all the subs, instead of listening to common sense. You don't even listen to Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford said he wasn't coming here. He didn't want to come here. He wanted to go to L.A. all the whole time. Okay. Oh, no. You swore up and down they didn't want to get rid of Locke. Wait a minute. Oh, and then here's another thing. You bring in Bridgewater. Again, here's our track record, squeaky clean again. We said, number one, this isn't a competition. Drew Lock is done here. He's done. Now, there are other people like us, too. But our voices can't be heard because there's so many people they all get in a bubble, boom, and they say this stuff. They think if they say it enough, it's going to be true. Okay? We said Bridgewater, that competition, it was Bridgewater all the way. Then we said you're going to stab him in the back and send him down the road. You don't know what you're talking about. Bombs away, Teddy. This is going to be Teddy's. I said, there's nothing wrong with Teddy. Teddy's not on a team that can support him, like Flacco, right? Like Flacco, say, for instance. Or Drew Lock needing to build a player personnel while you're developing the quarterback. God forbid we do that. And that went exactly the way we said it was going to go. Draymond Jones isn't going to be a Pro Bowler. Oh, man, did we get a lot of shit for that? And Justin Simmons isn't going to have this breakout year. That never happened because all we do is show film. I know, all we do is show film. So this is a chronicle, and you can go back and look at our track record. It's impeccable compared to all those people with subs. We don't want subs. We don't care about subs. We want things on the record. Okay, because we know what we're talking about. And it's not hard. You could know what you're talking about, too, if you'd stop listening to garbage and just open your eyeballs and eat some crow and just look at the cold, hard facts. This team was never ready for Russell Wilson, number one. And it will show itself. And I know we're wrong. We're so wrong. And we've been told that so many times. Well, you don't have the subs. We could make cat videos. I'm singing to you, lying in bed just like Russell Wilson did, just to try to get some subs. Anything to get subs, just give me some subs. It ain't about subs. It's getting it right. That's what it's about. And when this whole thing goes the way we see it going, again, for me, this is just still a team muddling in the middle. But they're...
That's being generous.
And I'm being generous. I mean, I'm just saying, with all things considered, I'll put it a team muddling in the middle. But there are like neon flashing signs that says, oh boy, oh my God, brace for impact. So I just wanted to get that out of the way about what we are and what we're not. This isn't really a show. It's really... We're doing a chronicle. Oh, by the way, I'm uploading Jurgen's video, not the lotion, the video, because we're looking at linemen right now. Players that the Broncos will never hire, but we're also tracking our picks too. We have unofficially tracked a lot of our picks, and it's been really impressive where they go, and where they go also depends on, are they going to a clown show and, all that stuff. But we want to actually try to get players that aren't so obvious. This probably isn't even going to make any difference to people listening to this. But we're trying to get players that aren't quite as obvious to see how they do, how if they get developed and do like we think they can if they go to the right place. Anyway, that's something else. But so anyway, this is going to be a conversation about Russell Wilson. I broke down Russell Wilson film of 2 games, and we had quite a conversation yesterday about that. This whole idea of bringing in Russell Wilson. I know this has been something that you've been dying to talk about, so why don't you start? I'll step away.
Okay. Again, when it comes to, I'm so film centric. Okay, I've been busting my ass with film lately. I've been sending this guy film on offensive lineman, like you said. This will go into my Russell Wilson point. Again, people want to talk about Russell Wilson in the slight, and it's really confusing to me because air raid offenses are successful in the National Football League. To me personally, I don't agree with that. To me, I think
vertical, go
20,
vertical.
yeah, 20 plus yards down the field.
Just
Again,
win, baby.
yeah, just win, baby. You know, this is worse than that. But again, this whole notion that Russell Wilson's going to raise all ships is a false narrative, because we're going to get into a point later about the 2012 Denver Broncos. Well, seriously, again, this
So we
isn't
didn't even. Yeah.
This isn't even freaking close to that. And I don't want to start going on a rant and I lose my train of thought.
Can I say something just really quick about that? I honestly believe that's the biggest crime of this offseason. Are these other platforms selling this? But I honestly believe this is what Elway thinks. The guy that doesn't exist yet has this office that's busting at the seams at Dove Valley.
When you go to denverbroncos.com, that says president of football operations /GM.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I haven't had anybody respond to me when I say something like that. Okay.
What can I say?
I even say it in my film reviews, and people can't respond to that because they're scared to look at it because they don't want to be wrong.
Well, here's the thing about that this is really clear. And I think I hit a point on this. If Elway was knocking it out of the park for the last, I mean, if he kept the bowl and legacy,
yeah.
If he kept the bowl and legacy going, okay, making the hard decisions like bowling,
people don't understand how lucky they had it with bowling. They don't.
I mean, here I want to say something about Pat Bowlen really quick. What really solidified the Pat Bowlen as one of the best owners for me. I was one of the first people saying, that Shanahan had to go. Shanahan had to go, and everybody thought I was out of my mind. You're out of your mind. I said, no. What I'm seeing here, matter of fact, we should talk about Alex Gibbs. Alex Gibbs would have to put a rein, pulling the reins on Shanahan, so that they could run Terrell Davis. And even Elway said himself after the Super Bowls, well, you had Terrell Davis to hand the ball off. I mean, don't you want to be throwing the ball all over the place? And even Elway said, if I can hand the ball to this guy and he's just like running through defenses like butter, I'll do that all day long, because that makes it so much easier. And what happened is that this quarterback position has gotten so blown out of proportion. That's how the NFL sells its games and sells itself. And when we get into this Russell Wilson thing, we'll have to get into Seattle. We have to get into these contracts. These contracts are, and that's not just Russell Wilson. I mean, Mahomes, they're facing the abyss, in my opinion, with that. And Aaron Rodgers, these contracts are kind of troublesome. You know what I mean? It looks like San Francisco understands what they have to do with Jimmy G. I'm just going off tangent a little bit with these contracts about when your contract's up, we can't keep paying you more money. We have to bring somebody else in while we're trying to build this team. I mean, San Francisco probably is suffering too because of that Jimmy G contract. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you hit the nail on the head on every point that you were talking about. But I want to go back to the Russell Wilson thing, because that's something that we could go in chronological order, go back in time. But the Russell Wilson film, the two film reviews that you've done, excellent, excellent, excellent. I think you brought up great points about the hand injury. That again, this guy, if he didn't look at the Game Pass, and I forgot about that again. And okay, can I say this as well with that whole film thing? The whole thing with Drew, I have to point this out because you brought it up in your film session about the Drew Lock thing. Drew Lock was a gunslinger, and he was throwing it 20-plus yards when he was doing it in 2019, 2020. You guys gave him such crap for doing that. Now that it's Russell Wilson, it's okay because deep ball accuracy is more accurate than short area accuracy and medium accuracy, and short to area medium accuracy. That's such bullshit. Okay?
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You were saying something.
I was going to talk about the film review then.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Well, when it comes to the film review, again, the offensive line is way better than ours. I mean, it's head and shoulders above our offensive line. The Broncos offensive line is not even on the same level with the Seahawks offensive line. Oh, I'd rather trade for DK Metcalf than the Seahawks offensive line. Okay, well, I'd rather have the Seahawks offensive line than a receiver because you ain't going to do much with the receiver if the offensive line isn't blocking for the freaking quarterback. Again, the mindset of Dove Valley and John Elway is so miscued to me because they refuse to look at the...
It's illogical. What Dove Valley has done for 6 years under Elway has been illogical.
Go out Alec Watson, which they're still paying Donald Stevenson. They're still paying Juwan James. There's Ron Leary was a disaster. Michael Schofield was a disaster. The list goes on and on and on.
I think what got them derailed was what do you call who went to the Texans? Brock Osweiler. Thank you. Me and names, it's cryptid. Names are kryptonite to me. I can't remember my sister's name. Brock Osweiler. This is where things got derailed. They had a system in place at the time. That was, friendly to Peyton Manning. Your a-la pocket quarterback, And
then you go a bootleg quarterback, Peyton.
Well, I think that was further back before he ends up leaving.
Well, no, that was the year Peyton Manning retired.
So after he retired, they wanted to go boot. Well, okay, that's what I'm getting at.
No, that's what I'm saying when it correlates to. Are you talking about when he was in Houston or when he was in Denver?
No, I'm talking about the end of Peyton in his last season with the Broncos.
Oh, yeah, they were running bootleg. They were running the West Coast scheme under Kubiak because Kubiak refused in certain games.
Well, I guess that's something me and you are going to have to dive into a little bit because I remember they experimented with that but had to stop and went and let because I don't remember Manning bootlegging at the end.
He did it in the playoffs.
He did? Was he doing the bootleg stuff?
Yeah.
Because he said that he said, look, I'm not a play action quarterback. I'm a pocket guy.
Yeah, but again, Gary Kubiak had to relinquish some control and Peyton had to relinquish some control now.
Yeah, I think you're right about it's like going back in history. So with Brock Osweiler, I think you could have transitioned to a system.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought paying Brock Osweiler what they were paying him was way. That was too much. So I don't think they expect. I didn't expect it. I'll give Elway this. I don't think they ever expected Brock Osweiler to be taken for hundreds of million. What was it? 100 million? Whatever the hell that tag was.
When it comes to the Brock Osweiler point, you still had Trevor Siemian on that roster that was making a lot less.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too. They needed. Well, let's back it up a little bit. I don't think that the offensive line they had. We're getting into territory, but these are good discussions. And me and you, we didn't even get into and talk about this. that offensive line was really put together mostly by McDaniels. And when he brought him in, that was not a West Coast type. These weren't West Coast player personnel people. That was set up for a pocket, Brady ball, pocket quarterback Brady ball. They started shifting over to that, like you said, with Kubiak. They never addressed that offensive line, and it kept going down the tubes progressively. So by the time Simeon got behind there, everybody knows it was like a turnstile. Well, it still basically is. It's just maybe a little bit more consistent than that. But they didn't address the offensive. I don't think they knew exactly what they were going to run. So they're running. Was it West Coast system with
Simeon? Yeah, it was.
Okay, so it's West Coast system with Simeon. Did they address? We have to revamp all our offensive linemen to fit that system. That's a question for you.
Well, they got Russell Okung playing left tackle. They paid him a buttload of money. I think Russell Okung is better than Garrett Bowles ever will. But I liked Russell Okung. I liked that deal. I thought Russell Okung, he struggled, but he was your tip. He came from Seattle. Shocker. He came from Seattle and was your typical athletic West Coast zone run left tackle. They paid Donald Stevenson, which was an absolute dreadful move. You could have got Mitchell Schwartz in that free agent period. They had Max Garcia, who actually had a good rookie year and then regressed after that because they got away from his athletic abilities and decided to go somewhere else, which blew my mind, to the Bill Musgrave system. And then they had Matt Paradis. They let him go because of hip problems, yet he is still reliable in Carolina at center. Again, and then you had Alan Barber, and then you had Michael Schofield there still, and all the above. But again, your right side, can I just say this? You haven't drafted a tackle since 2017.
Well, and it's not just about drafting a tackle, okay?
Well, no, it's player development, though.
That's part of it. It's the whole mentality when it comes to the lines. It's that whole mentality.
When was the last time they drafted a nose tackle?
Yeah.
Sylvester Williams?
Yeah.
Derek Wolfe? Okay, I'm going on a tangent.
So you see the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I do.
You see the point. So it's been a dilapidation. This is why they're not a 2012 Denver Broncos. This has been a dilapidation in the heart of in the core of the team ever since Elway has taken over this franchise.
And we talk about the offense when Peyton Manning came in. The defense too. The defense was up and coming. You had Adam Peters drafting off defensive line talent, linebacker talent, safeties.
You had a defensive coordinator ahead of his time.
Well, you had Dennis Allen, who is the head coach of the Saints, who was one of the best defensive coordinators. He's been one of the best defensive coordinators for the past decade.
No. We don't want you.
And then you bring in Jack Del Rio, who's a heck of a defense core. I like him more as a DC than a head coach. And then you bring in Wade Phillips, and then Wade Phillips modified the system to basically make it is what teams run today. And then you bring in Fangio, then you bring Vance Joseph, you bring in Fangio, and then it just went downhill from there because your player personnel wasn't the same since 2012.
Well, at least Fangio tried to get the correct player personnel, and he was shot.
He tried to get DJ Reader. He tried to get Adrian Amos. He tried to stick with Devin Bush. He
called
Collins.
Yeah.
Guys like that. Adrian Amos is a way better player than Justin Simmons, and he's still playing for the Packers. And he decided to go to the Packers for a few $1 million more than come to this shit show in Denver. Same with DJ Reader.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I was watching. Again, here's this channel that. With our 300 subs, no, I went and searched to see if any Bronco channel talked about Russell Wilson's hand surgery. I had no idea there was hand surgery on this guy prior to. He's pretty much fresh coming to Denver off of hand surgery. Not a word from anybody. They have so many subs, but they're not telling you shit. That's the problem. They got subs, but they don't tell you shit. So I find out he has hand surgery and comes back in week 10, okay? And I'm watching him play Green Bay, and you're right. Green Bay's defense is definitely
Well,
a notch up to what I'm seeing here right now with the Broncos for sure.
well, they have an underrated nose tackle, Kenny Clark from UCLA, who they got in the later rounds, which is, I think he's up there with a DeForest Buckner type player. Grady Jarrett. They have that push. They have the coverage linebackers. They have Adrian Amos. They have Darnell Savage. They have the corners with Jair Alexander, who's up there with Jalen Ramsey, who you saw in the film. He's a lot more hands-on, but Jalen, I like Alexander more than Jalen Ramsey. He's a little more technically modified than Jalen is. Jalen's more of your man-to-man corner. But again, I'm not talking about corners. I'm talking about the push up the middle and the coverage ability from front to back, not back to front that the Broncos do, where they think that Justin Simmons is this all-world safety. Again, also, you know, the people that are giving Justin Simmons and Jerry Jeudy a second chance, please, you guys are going to be disappointed. Because, again, Jerry Jeudy's another player we could talk about. Well, I'm going to your film study with the receivers. Those receivers for Seattle were able to get to the second level. Every time I watch Bronco receivers, they stop on routes.
Well, we showed that film.
Well, even in your film, you still saw receivers were able to get open, and Russell Wilson wasn't hitting him because of his hand surgery. And on top of that, against the better player personnel, again, I showed the film with Billy Turner against better player personnel. He struggled with it from time to time. He was consistent.
How dare you? How dare you?
Just show the film. Stop talking. Blah blah blah. All that bullshit. But again, with the whole Russell Wilson argument, again, a lot of the sacks that were committed a lot of them were Russell Wilson's fault, not the offensive line's fault, because he's running around with the chicken with his head cut off. Again, that's not going to last 17 games plus the playoffs if we get to the playoffs.
So I want to talk about the Russell Wilson film a bit. You had two diametrically different games that I dissected. One was with a very good Vikings secondary. I believe that secondary is better than the Rams secondary. And this is an important point because this is going to go into push it up the middle. I want to explain something too. When I'm dissecting a Russell Wilson film, this is what makes us different than, this is to you, Cecil Lammy. Well, no, this is to you, Cecil Lammy. When I'm dissecting Russell Wilson film, I'm not just looking at Russell Wilson. I'm looking at their lines. I'm looking at their wide receivers. I'm looking at the schemes they're running. I'm looking at retrospectively from what we would look like with him. I'm looking at the defense that he's playing against and evaluating all these different players. And I couldn't understand why he was so insistent to go bombs away against the Rams. I was just had a, after I did the video, I was just reflecting back. He didn't do that. He wasn't in that same mindset as much. It was there, but it wasn't as pronounced as the Rams game. Now, this is very important. They have their secondary isn't as good as the Vikings. I think that's where their weakness is with the Rams. They have a guy number 5. I don't know who he is. I don't care. But who was he?
That's Ramsey, Jalen Ramsey.
Well, he's a corner, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was definitely the weakest link on there because they were picking on him. They were picking on him, and he was getting burned. It's just the way it was. But that shows you what their receiver core is like. That's how their receiver core. Okay, let's just say that game, Jalen Ramsey, if you love him so much, was having a bad game that game. Let's just say. Okay? Because he wasn't having a good game. I'm letting you know he was getting burned.
He's no champion.
And this is what I'm trying to say. So this goes into this push up the middle that we're always talking about.
99?
Yeah, and the hard on the edges kind of thing. Corners. I have seen in film the last 2 Super Bowls, playoff games, and just in general film, the season with Shermer running lock in Bridgewater. in that push up the middle when uh, their defender Darnold was pushing that center right into Wilson's face. It was just enough to get him off. It was better. It's just as good as a sack because the receiver put a move on. Would you say Ramsey?
Mm-hmm.
Put a move on him and he was light years ahead of him. He was open, no problem. Touchdown. It would have been a touchdown all the way. And that was not the first time he did that, by the way, just so you know. But that push up the middle, two things. One, he didn't even touch Wilson, but it was enough to throw him just off enough where that pass was off. Push up the middle. Also, because he had put the center in Wilson's face, it ended up being a hand injury. Fluke. Bottom line is he's there, gets a hand injury, needs surgery. All because of push up the middle. I'm trying to tell you people, you're all about this, all the edge stuff. Yeah, exactly. Blind to the middle. That push up the middle, when successful, is absolute kryptonite to a quarterback. Kryptonite. Every single time I see it. And when it's really successful, that quarterback goes to the edges and gets either, again, because you're feeding it to the edges, you don't have to have a sack necessarily, but get them off target, and then let your linebacking, if you got it, take away that first read. It's just impossible for these quarterbacks to function. And I'm going to let you know, too, this is something that was glaringly obvious when it came to Wilson. His success rate is way up here when he stays in the pocket. His eyes are downfield. He's not, turning to either side, running around or any of this. But he needs to he needs to just throw it away like Brady and get rid of it if you have to live to see another day. He doesn't get interceptions, but what he does is he trades interceptions for sacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've seen. He trades interceptions for sacks. Some quarterbacks would try to get it in there. He doesn't do that, but he doesn't throw the ball away when he starts getting pass happy. And his offensive line wasn't the problem in these film reviews when it came to like getting sacked.
Yeah, you cherry picked.
And I didn't cherry pick. The Vikings game, the offensive line screwed up the third quarter. They definitely screwed that third quarter up. In the Rams game, they did screw up a touchdown. They had a holding call. But by and large, that's minor compared to what the Broncos do all the time. I mean, they continually, it's like clockwork. It's like we can guarantee the line's going to screw up in the red zone. It seems like almost every friggin' time. If it's not a penalty, it's something, or they allow pressures. It falls apart in the red zone. So I don't see that changing. Show me if it changes out. Okay, fine. I don't see it changing. So I looked at that game and I'm like, okay, so you felt Ramsey was a good matchup against your receivers. You felt comfortable about that, and I can see that. And that call he did with going for his receiver, that was the right call. That when he injured his hand, that was the right call. I'm not saying that I'm not an anti-bombs away type of person, but what I want, this is okay. Let's say what was Russell Wilson the right pickup? Okay, now we got to go back to Seattle. Well, Russell Wilson took over the team in 2020. 5-win winning streak. Then they started going down the tubes. Coaching staff comes in and says, "You're going to get us fired. We got to intervene in this." So Russell Wilson has a problem with running the football. Apparently, this is reading the tea leaves or whatever you want to say out in Seattle. For me, I want to see balance, and I don't want to see bombs away. Like just an addiction to bombs away. I want to see Russell Wilson distribute the ball in different parts of the field. That's part of the game plan. I just don't want to see go vertical. So it got to a point, I think, with the contract and player personnel, because Seattle's defense is also a problem out there. has turned into a problem. But with Russell Wilson's contract, it's kind of hard to bring in the people that you need to bring in. And this goes to all these teams like Mahomes. You know, they're going to have to face. I'm thinking Mahomes may have to leave Kansas City because they just won't be able to sustain anything for him out there. So we have to ask as Bronco fans, do you want to extend this guy? Maybe does the Broncos even want to extend him? I don't think the Broncos were ready for him. And if you extend him now, you got to be under this contract, and Seattle couldn't get the player personnel built up with his contract. I just don't see the Broncos being able to do that. So anyway, that's kind of my rant with that.
Well, when it comes to Russell Wilson, you remember when we did one of our first videos when we were reacting to the news of Russell Wilson, we had that Seattle fan basically say what I've been saying for basically the whole time he's come here. Again, me and you disagree on this point, but in my personal opinion, and you know where I'm going to be going with this, is to me, I believe the most fundamental thing that you need to be doing on an offense is establishing the run. And I understand that will be an unpopular opinion. I get that. But for me personally, I've seen it time and time again. I've seen it in Super Bowls. I've seen it in playoff runs. When you don't have the running game and when you can't keep that defense honest, that's going to make more things difficult for everybody around that offense. And again, Russell Wilson, is he a guy that is capable of throwing it 30-plus times a game? Maybe. But again, the Seahawks fan basically preached what I've been preaching is you do not want Russell Wilson throwing it more than 25 to 30 times a game. And that's him relying on that run, relying on that play action, staying in that pocket, keep the defense on it, suck the defense up, throw over the play action, pass, blah, 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 this and the third. This is exactly what I've been saying since we got Russell Wilson. We don't have the player personnel for that. Javonte Williams, again, I will eat crow on Javonte Williams. I've eaten crow this whole time. That's the difference between me and these other feel-good sites and the other feel-good fans in Dove Valley itself. I will actually eat crow on the Javonte Williams pick. But again, now that you went to a completely different system, which you're turnstiling every single year since Pat Bowlen's been gone, Javonte Williams doesn't have the ball carry vision that a Michael Carter did coming out of the draft. I sent you the interview that they had with the North Carolina guy, and he said it himself that Michael Carter has better vision than Javonte Williams. I'm not saying that Michael Carter's a better player than Javonte, but if you're running this West Coast scene, but again, I don't even know what we're running because Nathaniel Hackett, from what I'm seeing, is we're going to do 5 wide receiver sets, throw it downfield 20-plus yards. Again, your receivers suck. Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick got $85 million combined. Jerry Jeudy, I'm just waiting for him to complain and bitch on Twitter and Instagram like he always does. What a terrible pick that guy has been. What a terrible player Jerry Jeudy has been.
That was another thing I was going to bring up about our track record. You wanted Tristan Wirfs, us to climb up, get Tristan Wirfs. Check how those two picks turned out to be.
Yeah, he springboard Tampa Bay to a Super Bowl, and Cameron Jordan, one of the best, you want to talk about edge rushers, said that this guy is ahead of his time, just like Rashawn Slater.
Well, okay. And how would have that translated now that you got Russell Wilson? But you're just ahead in the dark, right?
Yeah, I'm just ahead in the dark, and then look how those two picks have panned out. Look how Quinn Miners has panned out, and they're trying to bench him.
I know.
For Graham Glasgow?
Yeah. Hey, I'm not gonna. You can be in your Devontae Williams camp. I got it right. I said this is the only way that was going to be a good pick, is if he doesn't keep bouncing to the outside and learns how to mind the gaps.
But again, this is where I'm going to stick to that camp. You had Curtis Mawkins, who was helping him develop, and then what did Elway do? He fired his ass, and now he's in Minnesota. So is Chris Cooper.
So anyway, but I want to go to say something about your run philosophy. I'm not disagreeing about the run. My My take is, how do you establish the run? Me and you could debate that.
Okay.
Well, I'm not going to do it now, but I mean, that could be something later. We talk about, how do you establish a run? This is my take with Russell Wilson. Everything I see on tape, I see the context behind the stats. The context behind the stats is, be a pocket quarterback, look downfield, don't run around. Because every time you do that, every time you turn one way or the other, run around, your production goes into the cellar. Quite frankly, it's negative. Quite frankly, when he stays in the pocket, he's looking down. He's very efficient, very efficient. As a owner, as a GM, as a head coach, if you don't see that, if you don't try to, if he's not willing to do that, let him go somewhere else, in my opinion. Let him go somewhere else. I'm just seeing with my eyes what works. If he doesn't want to do with what works, if you don't, and this again, do you hand him maybe that's what he wants to do? I don't know.
I believe that's what they're going to do. Nathaniel Hackett's been saying, we're going to build the offense around Russell Wilson. That, to me, that tells me that you're
I don't know what Russell Wilson really wants. I don't know if he wants to run around like a chicken with his head cut off, or he wants to be more of an efficient pocket quarterback. And that's, I guess.
Well, let me ask you this. The whole approving of the trade bullshit. Again, when it comes to this, did he approve to come here because, number one, we don't have an owner and he can kind of do whatever he wants? And again, that's just a theory I have. It's nothing that I believe.
Well, this is what I hear with my ears coming from Russell Wilson. The Broncos do this whole Broncos. Their very first video with Russell Wilson, very first one.
Yeah, it's great. And then when it goes past
hey boss, goes into Elway's office. That video.
I hope you do a video about that.
I'm going to do it. I'm still uploading your stuff. So anyway, so there's this Broncos promotional video, Russell Wilson promotional video. Then what happens? It's like that record scratching sound. He goes to the podium, Seattle, and then says, now this is what he says. He says, "Are you sure?" I'm asking them, this is really what you want to do? He saying this is them, not me. This is them. The people with the subs, the people who follow the people with the subs, they will tell you Russell Wilson was like pounding the door. I want to go to the Broncos. Let me go.
That's not true. That's a lie.
You just have to listen to Russell Wilson. He didn't want to leave. And this is why Iverson was so. Everybody was thrown off with this.
But Russell Wilson doesn't exist.
Well, this part, I guess, what he says doesn't exist. But all he did was talk about Seattle up there. I mean, it was a whole monument to Seattle, and said, "I'm talking to them on the phone. Are you sure? Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, we're going to go this way. We're going to go this way."
They were so desperate when they didn't get Rodgers. They were so desperate, and I've been saying it from day one. Once they didn't get Aaron Rodgers, they were desperate. They were desperate for all hell because they knew that Aaron Rodgers. Oh, and also, we want to talk about this with the whole Russell Wilson argument. Where's all these free agents that wanted to flock here?
That's another thing. And Russell Wilson himself came out and said, "I'm going to get on the phone and call people." Nobody came.
I still don't see the defensive line. I don't see coverage linebacker. Oh, we got Alex Singleton. Oh, my God. You sent me an article.
You're still getting hate for Gregory.
Oh, well, I don't really care because Gregory doesn't fit a 3-4 defense as an outside linebacker. He's a 4-3 defensive end and a 5-tech. We don't run a 4-3 defense. We have 3-4 player personnel.
I know you're going to say Draymond Jones, but you know what the Gregory pick really reminds me of when it comes to us?
It's a worse version of Draymond Jones.
No, what it reminds me of is when we got Jarrell Casey, because we were saying,
God,
no to Jarrell Casey, and everybody came out of the woodwork. You're wrong. And how did that work out for you? Those people that only listen to people with subs, because all the subs told you how great that was going to be.
Can I say this with the whole? I just want to talk about Randy Gregory because I love it. Randy Gregory, again, he had success for 1 year. One. This isn't. Again, if Randy Gregory is a Von Miller, of course. But again, you don't have the player personnel like Dallas has. You don't have a DeMarco Lawrence or Dexter Lawrence. You don't have a Micah Parsons. You don't have a Leighton Vander Esch. You don't have the defensive line talent that was getting the put. Again, it showed in my film where they were applying the pressure at the middle and the quarterback was going to Gregory or Dexter Lawrence or Micah Parsons. Again, do you guys not? Again, DJ Jones, excellent signing, but in my personal opinion, he is going to take a step back, and then people are going to come out of the woodworks and say, "Well, you were wrong about DJ Jones." I'm not wrong about DJ Jones because DJ Jones is carrying a big weight when you have Draymond Jones, who sucks, Mike Purcell, who's over the hill. Again, who's your depth pieces on the defensive line? I mean, it's shit. Again, outside linebacker. I would have been fine if you kept Malik Reed and Bradley Chubb. It wouldn't have mattered to me. But again, you did it. Elway. He doesn't exist. 5 years, $70 million. So it's a 2-year, $28 million guarantee. Guys, look at the guaranteed money and also look at the incentives that we gave him. That's what bumps it up more than the $28 million. Am I not wrong about that?
Well, let me ask you this: is he going to actually meet those incentives?
Well, he's already got surgery, and he's already going to miss some of OTAs and training camp. I doubt he meets the incentives.
Shoulders.
I hate that. I hate that pickup. I told you this would be Elway. Alex Singleton's a perfect Elway example. Re-signing Josie Jewell. So you guys want to talk about middle linebackers? Oh, Miles Jack and Josie Jewell. Again, I had the argument with one of the commenters where Josie Jewell has more tackles than Miles Jack. But again, they're running right at fucking Josie Jewell, so of course he's going to get the tackles. Miles Jack is a coverage-centric linebacker. Where did he go? The Steelers.
Let me ask you this: how many yards passing did Josie Jewell let go?
More than Miles Jack.
Incalculable. So let me ask you this. I was going to remember and I
Eddie
forgot.
Gold out there, and so is they. Oh man. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I want to go. It was about Wilson. Going back to Russell Wilson. Yes, you talked about surgery. Okay. First of all, okay, just put your mic on mute just a second. Just so I can. So first of all, there's Gregory's surgery. Shoulders are tricky. Shoulders take a long time to heal, and they re-injure. That's something you got to worry about. So that has Elway written all over it. Of course, that would happen. The other thing is Russell Wilson. What was Seattle? What were you thinking, Seattle? What were you thinking? Now, I tell you, it was remarkable to see Russell Wilson in that game against Green Bay because he's fresh off of hand surgery, and without a doubt, his accuracy was definitely off. But that was right after surgery, so I haven't checked out, the rest of the season. It doesn't really, except the way in Detroit, it doesn't really look that good. So maybe Seattle was looking at that hand surgery too. I think that may have played, maybe not a major part, but I think it did play a part in it. And I don't want to overemphasize the surgery, but there's nobody out there who's going to tell you he had hand surgery except us. Okay, and you can't just dismiss it. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but you can't dismiss it. Go ahead.
No, you brought up great points. I like that you brought up the Russell Wilson surgery because I haven't heard anybody out there, especially sports talk radio and Dove Valley, talk about it.
Nobody in Denver, because I was looking for it, specifically looking for it. Nobody mentioned it.
Like I said, I'm not here to hate on Russell Wilson. I like him more than Aaron Rodgers. I think I would take Aaron, but again, this isn't this isn't the situation that Peyton Manning walked into in 2012. I'm going to say, and the people that are spewing that are complete bullshit artists because they don't believe in player development. Again, the guys I sent you in the guys that I want in the draft, and Eddie Goldman and Ashawn Robinson and Sheldon Joseph Day and Miles Jack and Jayon Brown. Jayon Brown went to the Raiders. They get it now. But again, it's just like the Broncos just refuse to look at what makes teams successful in the National Football League. They just refuse. The Broncos, Dove Valley, John Elway himself, they just refuse to look at it. Again, John Elway, you won your last 2 Super Bowls with a great offensive line, a great defense, a great running game, Alex Gibbs, and then you turn around as GM, and then you want to go full on souped up version of Al Davis for
Yeah,
7.
that makes no sense to me. I in all fairness, I don't understand why teams can't see that. I mean, when Kansas City moves Jones to the edge, why would you do that? Why? And then once you move him back, the clock begins to work again.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I cannot tell you watching again film. And I think too, if the NFL is getting into baseball, just looking at stats in baseball is one thing. Looking at football, you have to understand context behind what you're looking at. Josie Jewell. Tackles. Well, tackles. Nobody wants to look. Yeah, he was making tackles way down. There's a term that was used for that. Making tackles, late tackles. He was making a lot of tackles, but they were way behind the line of scrimmage. And how many yards did they give up making tackles in the passing game? So you got to look beyond stats. With football, it's context behind stats, and that's what you got to look at.
Well, again, the whole, the context of stats, this whole thing, with Gregory and with Singleton. Again, you sent me an article about Singleton, which I'm just like, I mean, I've been saying ever since we got the guy, basically word for word what I've been saying. Again, I'm just a talking head in the dark. Number 3, with Kwan Williams. Again, no one's been arguing about my point about Kwan Williams. Again, you could have got a better player with Bryce Callahan on the same exact deal. Again, I know Bryce Callahan's injury prone, but again, he wasn't going to be your number 1 corner. That's certain. Again, and then you bring back Kareem Jackson because there's no one else in free agency. You didn't want to go after Marcus Williams because you paid all that money and allocated all that money to one player, Justin Simmons, who sucks. Again, you can't build that secondary correctly. You can't build the defensive line correctly. Josie Jewell, I'm going to go back to my point about Josie Jewell and Miles Jack. You brought up the great point about how it was late tackles downfield because they were strictly attacking him because he sucks in coverage. He doesn't have the he's a smart player, but he doesn't have the Miles Jack upside that Miles Jack has. Miles Jack is he's a top 5 coverage linebacker. And it just blows my mind that Jacksonville let him go. But then the Steelers pick him up next to Devin Bush. And then you have the Cardinals doing the same thing with Isaiah Simmons and Zaven Collins. And they have that push up the middle with the Steelers and the Cardinals. They get it. And who's the defense coordinator for the Cardinals? Vance Joseph, who was the yes man for John Elway every single time he did a presser. And every time he was in the building, he was a yes man. And now that you have Nathaniel Hackett and you have this defense with Don Capers, who is going to run a mishmash system. I sent you a Reddit article or something about how, when Don Capers was the defensive coordinator in Green Bay, he started to experiment with the 4-3 defense with 3-4 player personnel, and it went down the shitter from there.
Okay, so you asked about why they released Jack. I'm wondering, there's a dynamic of budget dynamic, cap dynamic, and I'm wondering with Lawrence if Lawrence plays a part in those kind of decisions, just out of curiosity.
Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, if his contract plays a part in some of these decisions. Just a thought. I want to say this too before I forget. That article I sent you was from Philadelphia.
Yep.
And here's the thing. This is why, again, I started this channel as a chronicle. In Philadelphia, they're much more objective on how they cover the Eagles. They're not afraid to come out and call out Singleton. In Denver, you have this PR machine, and everybody's on the same. You can't find anything objective. It's they all sound like each other, and that should tell you something right there. KOA sounds like DNVR. DNVR sounds like the bubble. The bubble sounds like sports talk radio. You can't, and the only time they get objective is when they all do it together, like Chubb. Oh, it's Chubb. Let's go after Chubb. We're questioning Chubb. Why aren't you questioning Simmons? Why? I mean, we shown you video. You can't deny it. He isn't an Ingram. He isn't even in that universe as this guy. What about Josie Jewell and his running? Making tackles way downfield, blown up in the coverage. You can't. Why can't you talk about that? Well, the offense and defensive lines outside of edge. None of you can talk about that. So somebody has to come along, not get the subs. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. I've never asked for anybody to subscribe, but we're on record being 10 times more accurate than those guys, and we don't even get paid for it.
We actually show film while those guys don't. They say that they show film. They say that they show good salami.
Well, yeah, I think I was watching a DJ Williams at the Bubble. I believe it was the Bubble. They do a write-up. They do like a blog. It's like a blog, and then they insert some video. It's more like they're more like they're more like highlight reels. And look, he can get in between tackles and make sacks, and I'm like, but that's not really what I want him for. I want him to be a slot guy. Okay, if he makes a sack or gets a quarterback off his spot, that's a great cherry on top. Okay, but you didn't show me this guy in coverage. That's where it counts. That's where we're different, and we need to show games that matter, not just cherry picking different games. They don't because it's all lollipops, rainbows, and unicorns. They don't get nobody attacking that.
Yeah,
because nobody, all those people that subscribe and stuff, obviously they're there to hear bullshit. I mean, that's.
Yeah.
But I can't. Okay, and again, like I said, here this is a fan. A fan, throw the football, catch the football, touchdown. That's all they care. That's all they want. Run the football, touchdown. That's as far as they don't care about. I don't want to hear about hand placement. I don't want to hear, what they will like to go listen to is that. Oh, well, let's listen. Let's go to and listen to quarterbacks, and have you, give us all this terminology that really doesn't mean anything. Slant right, slant right down seam. All these. Yeah. Well, I want to see how the players all respond. I want to see. Something more. I want to see really dig down, like you said, the hand placement, the foot. What did you think about Russell Wilson's footwork? I pointed out that was like, I mean, his feet were like, they were together like this, and you couldn't throw it. And I'll give him this: he knows when he can throw it.
Well, Drew Lock struggled. I said coming out of college that the one thing that Drew Lock needs to improve on was his footwork. But you guys, again, Russell Wilson has footwork problems, but Drew Lock now all of a sudden.
Well, he did that play. He did that play.
Well, I know, but he's still inconsistent in his footwork. That's why he runs around in the backfield, and that's why he can't really throw the deep ball that people want. Again, this whole thing revolves around throwing the ball deep. And you brought up a great point about not having them run around with the chicken with your head cut off. You believe in the stay in the pocket, field vision, all that accuracy, Brady ball type stuff. Again, I thought you brought up a great point. This correlates to Russell Wilson with Lamar Jackson. Again, Baltimore's in the same predicament. They want to do that read option, run him outside, get hit, and then he's never around for the playoffs. Again, this is that's why Colin Kaepernick flamed out. That's why Roger Griffin III flamed out. That's why Michael Vick flamed out to some degree. Again, because, they didn't get the proper development to stay in the pocket and actually, hold the defense and actually throw the ball. But again, this whole thing.
The thing is that Wilson is an excellent pocket quarterback. If they would go in that direction. Now, I'll tell you this: I will eat crow if the Denver Broncos use Russell Wilson to spread the ball in different locations on the field. Everybody, there was 4K views, or maybe not that much. There was like 1K, 2K views, something like that, at the bubble, talking about Peyton Manning's blueprint. Peyton Manning's blueprint. I don't believe they gave any context. All they said was Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning, Peyton Manning. What does that mean? What does Peyton Manning's blueprint mean? Do they know what Peyton Manning football is? Oh yeah, it's air raid. It's just throwing bombs all day long. Well, if you think Peyton Manning was strictly about throwing bombs all day long, go play My Little Ponies or whatever your fantasy.
Oh God.
Peyton Manning distributed the ball 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 yards, 20. I mean, he had it all in all different places over the field. That's why he was successful. That's how Brady was successful. And Russell Wilson would absolutely be successful if you do that. Take that. I showed where Russell Wilson could make those throws. I showed his backup, and I did it for a reason. His backup took those shots he should have taken, and he marched the team down for a score. You don't have to always be a bomb. And even Brady will take what the defense gives. Mahomes will even take what. And Kansas City right now, we were talking about run centric. Even Andy Reid's getting run centric, and he's going to have to because you just lost Tyreek Hill. In my opinion, that was really the bread and butter for Mahomes, more so even than Kelsey.
But again, that offensive line is head and shoulders. Oh, when John Clayton, rest in peace, John Clayton, But again, when John
Clayton bite the dust?
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you have a heart problem? I
don't know. Probably got the COVID shot and died. But anyway, when they were writing the articles about the Broncos having the best offensive line in the AFC and AFC West, I mean, give me a break. When I strictly said that Kansas City, I said Kansas City, even the Chargers would have the best offensive line in the AFC West because they dedicated a lot of their resources to that position. Creed Humphrey, could you imagine having Creed Humphrey in the system? Tristan Wirfs and Rashawn Slater. You got Quentin Nelson a few years ago, and you got Quentin Miners now.
Well, and then Russell. Then you could say, okay, Russell Wilson, we got you.
Yep.
Yeah, you could be a little bit more bombs away, but anyway.
But again, I understand your point about Russell Wilson. I understand you want to throw the ball, but again, I believe Peyton Manning's best year was in 2012 when he had that running game to rely on. When they had that great offensive line but they also had that running game for him to rely on. He didn't have to throw it 50 plus times a game. They started doing that. They did that weeks 1 through 4 and then they realized they were 2-2. Like, okay, we need to go with no Sean Marino. We need to go with Lance Ball. We need to go with Monte Ball. We need to go with those type of players because that's going to help a Peyton Manning now. And then it took off from there.
Well,
they had better receivers than we do now with Wes Welker. Brandon Stokely had a good year when he was in Denver his last year. I hate Brandon Stokely, the commentator, but he was a hell of a football player. You had Eric Decker. You had Demaryius Thomas. Okay? You really think that, those 4 players combined, please do not give me, again, bubble the field. Please don't tell me that Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and Tim Patrick are better than the 4 receivers we had in 2012 and 2013. I don't want to hear it because they were able to get to the second level, were able to help out a Peyton Manning, and plus they had that offensive line with Ryan Clady, Matt Paradis, J.D. Walton, Dan Copen, Luis Vasquez, Orlando Franklin. We haven't had a good right tackle since Orlando Franklin. So just saying.
So if you're talking about Peyton Manning, when he was in the Colts, his best years was when he had a running game.
Yeah, when he had what was his name? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, but that was the whole talk with Peyton Manning and then look what happened with John Elway. I mean, do we not remember Terrell Davis? I don't know. Maybe they forgot about him. But
do they remember Clinton Portis? Do they not remember all whatever?
So no, I agree that I will be impressed if they do what you're saying about incorporating the running game and not just make this a bombs away fest. I got to do more film on Russell Wilson after the surgery and see what.
I think what I recommend doing. I think that you try and find games. I'll do this too to help you out. Okay, I'll do that when I'm done here. I'll try and find some time. But I think what we should do is we should try and find games where the running game was successful and see how he played off of that. And I think that's a good point. Again, I agree with you. The way that you incorporate a running game is very I believe in the running game. I fully believe that. It's been since the time of football that football, and especially in the playoffs, especially in that playoff run, especially towards the end of the year, this is why you need to have a running game, because that is going to help out your quarterback more than hamper your quarterback.
I got female issues. I got to go.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.